Hey, and welcome to another episode of Starship Gaming. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. Now, today we're going to do something a little different. So I guess you could say this is kind of an interactive video. Well, here it is. I want you to tell me in the comments. Well, first let me explain the whole thing to you, okay? The subject for, I guess you could say, of this video and of some future episodes that I'm going to do, I want you to decide on a controversial gaming subject. It could be anything like a controversial console. Of course, I already talked about the Coleco Chameleon. I suppose I could go in more, more in depth with that. It could be like the Atari VCS or the Intellivision Amico. There's some mild controversies with both of them. With Atari VCS, there's obviously quite a few. The Intellivision Amico, not so much. It's mostly just a, really minor things, but that's an example. Another example, the shortage of Nintendo Switches as of April 2020, as of this recording. Is it, legitimate, or is it an artificial shortage? Does Nintendo have a warehouse with millions of these things just sitting there, and they're just releasing a little bit at a time? Of course, artificial shortages are nothing new. I mean, it's happened with, or it's been suspected of happening with, other consoles in the past. Or we could even go old school on the subject if you want. For example, in the late 80s, there was a shortage of Nintendo consoles. Now that one, I'd really have to do some extra research on. The story goes, the basic story, around the holidays 1988, there was a shortage of both Nintendos and of Super Mario Bros. 2. There are several sources that I read about that subject. There's even a 9-minute news piece on it. And, every console has, well, I shouldn't say every, but a lot of consoles have shortages. There was a shortage of the Nintendo 64 shortly after launch in 1996 because everyone wanted to get their hands on one. Shortages of the Nintendo Wii in 2006. I definitely remember that one because I really wanted a Wii, and I didn't get one for a while. I ended up getting one, basically, I don't know if you'd call it new old stock or not. I got it from a pawn shop in 2010, a couple years later. In the meantime, I was heavily into PS3, which, funny story about my PS3, which there was a shortage of those too. And the prices were ridiculous, but I ended up getting mine from a rent-to-own place, my PS3. And it was the total price when it was all said and done was $900 some. And I think it might have been Aaron's. Aaron's, if you don't know what they are, they're like a furniture, appliance, electronics kind of deal, and you can lease stuff from them over time. But to this day, I still think you can lease a Xbox One or a PS4 through Aaron's. I haven't checked. It's a little, I guess you could say the interest is a little high, but if you can't find it anywhere else, they could be a good last resort. I've done a couple game consoles like that, on payments. For example, in 2013, I couldn't find a PS4 or an Xbox One anywhere. So I settled for a Wii U, which I tried everywhere. And finally, I even tried Aaron's. They didn't even have any. So I finally tried Kmart, of all places. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want to put this on layaway. I want to kind of play it now. So Kmart, at the time, the Kmart that I got it from no longer exists. In fact, in my state of West Virginia, there are no more Kmarts. They're all extinct now. They went the way of the dinosaurs. I actually got a Wii U on... They were doing this payment program, which I guess it was their last-ditch effort to stay in business. When they did that, I knew they were in trouble. I actually got a laptop that way too, like a $800 laptop through them when I went to college, which it had really good specs. But yeah, they were my last resort, and I ended up getting one through them. I think the total cost of it was like $450 or something, maybe more than that. I forget what it was, but you know, if that's what you're looking for. And what was weird is that in my area where I live, PS4s and Xbox Ones and even Wii U's were hard to come by for like 6 months after Christmas that year. So, was that an artificial shortage? We really don't know. But it's been long suspected of a practice that companies have done for a long time, though a lot of companies deny it. I mean, over the years there has been some confirmation of it going on, but a lot of companies, especially Nintendo, deny that they ever do it. So that could be a topic we could talk about. And of course, we can talk about games too. For example, Duke Nukem Forever. Games that were in what they call developmental hell. And of course we can... Well, with Duke Nukem it was a number of problems. But we can talk about, the controversies behind that. Or we could even talk about stuff like how, Mortal Kombat was considered controversial. Or we could even talk about the controversial changes that Nintendo made to the Super Nintendo ports of their Mortal Kombat games. So it can be any number of things, but I'm going to let you choose the topic. Depending on how much feedback we get on this, I'm going to be doing this over 5 videos, maybe, at least 5, if I get some good feedback on it. Between now and July. So just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. But I'm letting you pick the topic. There are certain topics that, now there are certain topics I probably won't talk about because they've just been talked to death about. For example, Gamergate. That's a topic that has just been talked about so much. I just have no desire whatsoever to talk about that one. That one's just... I've heard so much over the years about it that it's a subject that's already been talked to death about, so that one's definitely out. Of course, I also want to say that when you do, come up with your ideas, please be respectable of others' opinions. That's one thing that I've noticed has kind of got rampant lately. Towards people, people have been generally rude towards other people, or vulgar and whatnot. So, please be nice to other people. I know there's a pandemic going on right now, and I think a lot of people will get this general rudeness because they've been locked up indoors for so long. So, tell me what controversial gaming subject you want me to talk about. And of course, I'm going to give you a shout out if we, multiple shout outs if several people pick the same thing. yeah, just let me know in the comments what kind of controversial gaming subjects you want me to talk about. If there's something that piques my interest, or I think that's a topic that's, that I can most likely describe in 10 minutes or less, I'll definitely talk about it. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to hear your all's feedback. You all are really awesome. I hear really positive things. Of course, if you haven't watched my past episode, I do have depression. It's not bad. It's in control. I'm perfectly fine. But, hearing all these good vibes and everything and seeing all the positive comments and everything, it really helps me feel a lot better, especially with somebody who has anxiety. So it really helps me, really keeps me motivated to keep making videos. And like I said, I'm perfectly fine. It's just the quarantine's got me a little down, but the reason I keep making these videos is to, for the positive vibes and to keep myself entertained. Of course, I don't do any kind of monetization for my videos. I do these purely for fun. It's a hobby, pretty much, or me sharing my hobby. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. And until next time, I will see ya.